In the Great Lakes, change is the only constant. It comes from the waves, as the warming spring waters crash through the ice. It comes from the land, as summer unveils the natural beauty of our region's flora and fauna. And it comes from the skies, as the falling autumn leaves give way to the winter snow. Change can be beautiful, sometimes difficult, sometimes both. Hello and welcome, my freshwater friends, to episode 3 of the About the Water podcast, an exploration of high strangeness on and around the Great Lakes. Today's story takes us to Cape Vincent, New York, along the westernmost reaches of southern Lake Ontario. It was here where one man found himself haunted by change, both figuratively and literally. Change that would forever echo through his life and about the water. Episode 3. Lose Change. The roar echoed through the trees. It was moving fast this time. Each member of the onlooking group holding their breath with anxious anticipation. Heroically standing out front, Lou was ready to accept his fate. Whatever it is, he decided, he was going first. Squinting into the distance, he saw the faint outline come into view. His eyes widened. Its unnaturally green coat was unmistakable. "Looks like tacos today," Lou proclaimed to the group as his hungry coworkers erupted into a fugue of excited cheers and disapproving groans. Lou's best friend, and now foreman, Sarah, voiced her objection. "Better not be those nasty salmon tacos they had last time," she said. Lou laughed. "Sarah, you're the only Lake Ontario girl who can't tell the difference between salmon and coho," Lou said, reaching for a small fold of cash in his hard hat band. "Anyway, it's on me today." The Cape Vincent lunch truck options were very limited back in the late 90s, but they were a favorite amongst the construction crew. Lou thanked the cashier as he was handed his lunch and 70 cents in change. With one hand, Lou passed Sarah the bag, and with the other, he threw his change into a nearby dumpster. "Do you have any idea how stupid that looks to the rest of us?" Sarah asked. Lou's little habit of always throwing away his change was an unusual one, to say the least, and it was a common topic of friendly ridicule amongst his colleagues. Sarah teasingly asked Lou how much money he figures he had thrown away over the years. Lou didn't reply. His mood was somber. He was quiet. Sarah had noticed. "Today was her birthday," Lou said quietly. Sarah sighed and gently patted his back. She knew. A few silent moments passed as the two sat down at a makeshift table. "Have you spoken to him?" she asked cautiously. Ignoring the question, Lou vigorously scratched at an itch on his leg. Reaching into his pocket to investigate, he found the source of his discomfort. 25 cents. One nasty, heavy, itchy quarter. He stopped briefly to remember where he might have received it. He hadn't used cash at all that day prior to lunch. Lou tossed the quarter onto the ground and mumbled an obscenity. Sarah asked again, well aware that he had heard her the first time. "Have you spoken to Danny yet?" Lou abruptly stood up. "Danny needs you, Lou. He needs his father now," she offered. Lou objected. "The things that kid said to me? Do you know what he said to me?" Lou asked, knowing very well that she did. "No, he can call me. He can call me. Danny walked out on his own mother's..." Lou shook his head, trying to fight away the tears. He still couldn't bring himself to use that word. It had been almost 12 months since Lou's wife was laid to rest. and the heated words that he and his son had exchanged that day were an emotional display of the worst sides of each of them. They hadn't spoken since. Sarah remained silent as they put on their hard hats and tossed their lunch bags. The remainder of the work week passed uneventfully. Each day, Lou would abide by the compulsions that caused his little tic, throwing away any change onto the ground or in the trash, each time looking upward. "Sorry, babe," he would offer. His wife always hated that unusual little habit. When the weekend arrived, Lou carried out his Saturday routine, making the hour-and-a-half drive to his old lakeside hometown of Oswego. Lou packed his own lunch and made his way to a small community park with a rocky beach. He sat down to enjoy his lunch, all the while reminiscing about the days when he and his wife would bring their son Danny to this very park. A bright glare suddenly caught Lou's eye. Ignoring it at first, Lou noticed it then a few more times. It was something on the shore, just a dozen yards away or so. Curiosity getting the better of him, Lou went to investigate. Shining unnaturally brightly for such an overcast day, the object revealed itself to be Lou's arch-nemesis. Spare change. 25 cents to be exact. 1/4. After a brief moment of silence, Lou erupted into laughter, picking up the coin and looking upwards. "This is your doing, isn't it, babe?" he asked. "Hilarious." Lou skipped the coin across the water and into the depths of Lake Ontario. The next work week came, and Lou found himself once again finishing his lunch and talking to Sarah. He was complaining about the firmness of his hot dog bun. As he stood up to resume his workday, Lou heard a pinging noise emanating from the ground, as if several metallic objects had fallen. He took a couple of steps backwards and looked under the table to see what it was. His keys and his Leatherman multi-purpose tool had fallen out of his pocket, along with more loose change. Change he was certain he didn't have on him just a moment ago. Lou quickly tucked away his keys and his Leatherman, and with a roll of his eyes, he presented the coins to his coworkers, well expecting the onslaught of verbal jabs. "You're off your game, Lou," one joked. "Hey, sorry, Lou, dumpster's full already," another said as the group shared a laugh. One by one, Lou placed the coins between his thumb and middle finger and, with impressive distance, rocketed them into the air with a snapping motion. "Keep the change, babe," he said lovingly, ridding himself of the burden of having to carry a dime and 3 nickels around. Work ran long that particular afternoon, and Lou was one of the last ones to leave the construction site for the evening. He wearily trudged to his car, climbed inside, and cranked the engine over. As he pressed in the clutch and reached for the gear lever, Lou was startled by several loud, metallic sounds coming from the front of his car. He instinctively turned off the ignition. Not knowing what else to do, he popped the hood release, stepping out of the car to investigate. "Oh, what now?" he asked. Lou approached the front of the car, relieved to see no steam or leaking fluids. As he raised the heavy metal hood, he was again startled by an unexpected sound. A barrage of metallic objects pinging, as if being dropped or thrown from a distance. Looking around, Lou saw, however, that there was absolutely nobody there. Closing the hood, confused, Lou surveyed the scene. On the ground, a plethora of dimes and nickels, several dollars worth. And resting gently on his driver's side windshield wiper was 25 cents, the only quarter. Reluctantly, Lou picked it up. He clutched it tightly in his hand. Looking upward, he began to feel his eyes filling with tears. "Okay, babe, I will," he whispered with a loving nod. Driver's door open, keys in the ignition, dashboard binging, Lou abandoned his car. Running at full speed down a dirt path, through the trees and back towards the construction site. Gasping for breath, he walked the last couple of paces cautiously as he approached a payphone. Pausing for just a moment, Lou closed his eyes and exhaled deeply. Terrified, Lou picked up the receiver and dropped the quarter into the slot. With a trembling hand, he dialed the number that he still knew by heart. "Hello?" the voice said through the receiver. Overjoyed to hear that voice again, Lou replied with a gentle, trembling tone. "Danny? It's Dad." Lou's experience is a great lesson on Great Lakes spirits. If they are indeed real, they are the spirits of we who inhabit the lakes. Hardworking, loving, caring, and ready to help others when the opportunity presents itself. This story was actually given to me by the aforementioned Sarah, and when I was fortunate enough to speak to Lou himself, he retold it with astonishing accuracy. Long since retired from construction, Lou admits that he finds himself much happier in these days of credit cards and Venmo, and he did assure me that he still can't stand the feeling of loose change or the sound of it in his pockets, but these days he puts it to good use. Above the fireplace in his lakeside cottage, right next to his wife's photo, he slowly builds a college fund for his grandson. And just in case you're curious as to if Lou was able to rebuild his relationship with his son Danny, I'll leave you with this. His grandson's name is Lou. Sarah and Lou, if you're listening, thank you so much for sharing. Of all the reports of high strangeness that I've collected during my journeys around the Great Lakes, this one remains one of my all-time favorite stories, let alone ghost stories. And Danny, if you happen to be listening, may we all offer you a big congrats on little Lou. One day in your retelling of this story, you will undoubtedly have to explain to him what a payphone is. And finally, thank you sincerely for your time and for listening. I hope that passing along these stories brings you some joy as you continue living out your own story. May it be as grand, beautiful, and enduring as our Great Lakes. I'll see you about the water.